Hello there everyone, I'm very excited to be able to show you this gameplay preview for Frostpunk. Now I managed to get my hands on a short demo build of the game courtesy of 11-bit Studios, and I'll be guiding you through most of the features that the game has to offer. This is easily one of my most anticipated games of the year, and now having played a little bit of it, I can safely say it's meeting and exceeding my expectations. Now if you're unfamiliar, Frostpunk is an alternate history colony management game branching from the late 1800s, where what appears to be a new ice age is ravaging the Earth. You start the game with your band of colonists arriving at one of the lost generators of the British Empire. Now it's your goal to power the generator, provide your people with food and shelter, and to carry out expeditions to rescue other survivors and learn more about what's happening around you. Initially, you'll assign workers to gather loose resources around the generator, such as coal, wood, and steel that you can then use to power the generator and start creating your first buildings. Buildings are placed around the generator in a circular fashion and are layered outwards. Each layer is considered one heat level away from the generator, so what types of buildings you place around it are very important. For instance, some houses have less insulation than others, so they might need to be closer, while some buildings need a heat source to function. There typically isn't enough room for balancing everything, so you need to make the choice about what goes where and who gets shafted further out into the cold. Now your generator is a focal point of the colony. Within it, you can raise the heat level at the expense of burning more fuel and kick it into overdrive mode for when things get really cold. But mind you, keeping that going for too long will cause it to explode, so it's a tough balance when particularly cold days roll around. The temperature will drop even further and buildings will stop functioning. So pushing the overdrive to its limit to prevent people getting sick is a tough line to toe. Now eventually you'll build a workshop and start being able to improve technology so that new methods of resource production can be made when the loose resources run out. You'll need to start to drill for coal, build some sawmills, create foundries, and explore new innovations to do with steam technology. So this all sounds great, should be absolutely no problem, right? Well, Frostpunk is all about dire circumstances and tough decisions. There simply isn't enough resources to go around for everyone. People will get cold, they will get sick, and they will die, and it's up to you to manage the tough decisions that a governor in that position will have to deal with. How do you feed everyone when you don't have enough food? How do you treat the sick? How do you deal with bodies? Should the children be put to work? To deal with this stuff, you need to enact laws. And now laws are binary decisions that your colony will live by once they're written in. For food, you can either create watered down soup or add sawdust to artificially thicken it. The sick can either have experimental treatments such as amputations, or can be given intensive care to help keep them alive, even if they can't work. Bodies can be thrown in a hole or be buried in a cemetery. Each of these decisions will have ramifications later down the line and will make your population either feel more hopeful about their situation or have greater discontent. Now from time to time, people will voice their concerns and you can address them through a dialogue option. They may complain that they're starving, giving you the option to prioritize feeding them, raising their hope if you come through for them, or they might complain that there's too many sick, so you can double your efforts to cure the disease. This is a sort of narrative-driven quest system, giving you missions and tasks based on your performance as you manage your colony. It can throw a spanner in the works when you need to create something because you've maybe been slacking in that area, or face the consequences. Now the consequences, aside from death and sickness of your colonists, are what they think of you and their happiness. There's a bar for hope and discontent that fluctuates based on their living conditions and the different laws you enact, which I never saw hit either extreme. The tutorial mentions that you'll fail as a leader with high discontent, so you may just lose the game, or there may be a rebellion of sorts. Either way, a hopeful colony is happy enough, and it is what you should be striving for. The last notable interaction is a pretty big one, and that's scouting the world. You can create scouting expeditions and send them to different locations on the overview map. Sometimes you'll find a bundle of supplies, and sometimes you'll encounter new colonists you can bring to your city, which seems to be the main way of growing, at least in the early game. Each expedition will give you a dilemma you'll need to decide upon, similar to the quests, and as you do more expeditions, you'll encounter more sites and points of interest on the world map. So that's pretty much all the 10-day demo had to offer for Frostpunk. It might be hard to hammer this point home, but when playing the game you have a real sense of dread and despair for your people. You can individually track them, see their families or relatives, and you feel bad when the bell rings and you see someone has just died or fallen gravely ill. Not just because of the death, but because of how hard that's going to be on everyone else. There's one less mouth to feed, but that's also someone's father, and losing him will make others feel hopeless. If you weren't hard pressed enough for coal to keep the generator on, it's going to be even harder now that you're another man down. If the person was an engineer, your more complicated buildings such as cooking or research will lose a very valuable component, as they are in rare demand and needed to push the colony through its toughest times. Now in terms of the building mechanics, it's something I've largely glanced over, and that's just because it works as expected. It works well, it looks good, and it's a bit different because you build in a sort of snap-to grid that rotates around your base generator. The UI for it is pretty clear and easy to understand, and the buildings themselves look pretty cool and steampunky. My only small gripe is that it can be hard to find a particular building you're looking for when you start expanding. I noticed this when I only kind of got to my tier 2 area, so I can imagine building a huge city like the ones they've shown in trailers might get a bit messy, but hopefully they'll introduce more UI elements that let you filter by medical building, cooking building, or whatever else to quickly snap to and around the ones you want. Now aside from all this, the game looks great and it sounds great too. Alright guys, that's it for my preview of Frostpunk. Like I said, I'm absolutely loving this game. I'm a big negative and cynical bastard, so the feeling of despair is right up my alley. The developers have just released more info on the late game technologies like automated machines that gather resources, so I'm very excited to see what more they have in store for the game. Make sure you check it out on Steam or follow their social media for updates, and I'll be sticking with the game and reviewing it when they have a release date. Now for this game, I've uploaded a let's play of the first 10 days alongside this video, so make sure you check that out if you want to see how the game plays over time. I'm thinking of doing that for a few games going forward, so you can watch my scripted summary videos like reviews and the like, and then check out the longer uncut gameplay just to see how it actually plays out moment to moment. If you like that idea, then please do let me know. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.